You are listening to the Unsoberly Sober Show. I'm your host, Magnify Maggie. This podcast will turn your perception of going sober upside down. We're going to be working from the inside out to get you that dream life. So make sure you stick around for the end of the episode where I'm going to walk you through our weekly positive pursuit exercise to begin rewiring that beautiful mind, baby. Hello, my free and powerful friend. Today we are talking about friends. We're talking about our inner circle. And I think something that a lot of us get caught up on when we are contemplating the idea of cutting back on alcohol or going completely sober, whatever that looks like, we get caught up and stuck on who am I going to hang out with? What will my friends think? Who am I even going to be friends with if my entire lifestyle has to change? And so I really believe there's a lot of chatter around kind of the friendship discussion there, but I want to take it, as always, with a new perspective and looking at it kind of zoomed out, but also really zoomed in internally to you. The way that, just understanding how much our friend group influences us, how much we as human beings pick up from our close relations, how much we start to embody the lifestyle and the mindsets and the thought processes of the people that we spend the most time with. So many of us, I think, have this conscious awareness, this understanding on a surface level that, the old adage of you are the reflection of your 5 closest friends. I think most of us can listen to that quote or that concept and be like, yeah, preach. But then we look around at our 5 closest friends and we're like, yeah, but that's about other people and not me. And it's okay because, this has been my best friend since grade 1. And so, they've earned their place in my inner circle. But when we kind of detach emotion or obligation from a friendship, we can see, is this friend influencing me in the right direction? Or are they actually helping perpetuate a stagnation, a kind of a comfort with being mediocre, just getting through the day, getting through the week? And so today I want to talk about that impact that our friend group does have before you start fretting about what am I going to do for these 5 friends that I have closest in my life if I were to consider not drinking. I think it's really helpful to zoom out and say, okay, let's analyze these friendships, and are they serving you? Are they creating this identity for you that is propelling you forward? Or are they helping you stay stuck? And from that zoomed out perspective, we can start to feel a little bit lighter about the decisions we might have to make. Again, I don't think it's healthy to believe that you have to cut people out forever, but I do think we need to start prioritizing relationships. And when I go back into my dangerous drinking history, I see that my closest relationships were with people that allowed me to stay where I was. And I wouldn't call them enablers by any means, but they were living the same lifestyle. They had the same habits, and what they did normalized what I did. And I wanted to hold on to those friendships because it made me feel okay with being stuck, with not making any forward movement. And so when we can take this objective, big, zoomed out look at our friend groups, it makes it easier to make decisions because you can say, you know what, I can hold on to this friendship, but maybe I'm not going to spend as much time with them or go hang out with them as frequently because it's time to either open up my bandwidth for new relationships outside of me or open up my bandwidth for a relationship to myself. I think before we even start looking at the 5 relationships outside of us that we have holding, the most near and dear, we should look at our relationship to ourselves. And that should always be the number one relationship we are addressing. And as you start to contemplate sobriety and you've got that narrative of what am I going to do about this friend and what is that friend going to think about me? And are they going to still hang out with me? How am I going to have fun with them? Before you even start contemplating those things, you have to contemplate your relationship to yourself. And your relationship to yourself really is conditioned and normalized by those people. So it's like this self-licking ice cream cone that keeps like generating back into itself. So I want to kind of talk about how your closest relationships normalize your behavior. So if you are constantly spending your free time with people that are, and we've talked about this a lot, complaining, they are gossiping. If you're constantly spending time, maybe even feeling obligated to maintain a relationship with somebody who makes maybe immature decisions, so to say, there's probably people within your 5 closest relationships that make poor decisions that lead to more chaos that you as a friend feel like you need to help them with and help them through. And so you're always taking away from your focus that you could have on your own journey, and you're supporting them. And so we understand that these people are going to influence us, yet we stay locked in step with them. And when they are consistently talking about how, they had to skip this is a very minute example, but they had to skip the gym because they got a flat tire and they knew that they needed to get their tires changed. And oh my gosh, the world is against me. My tire went flat at the worst time. Then that's going to start making your mind go to places of, let me put off what I need to do actively, what I know I need to do. And then when things go to shit, let me catastrophize and put myself last. But if you were to hang out with somebody who took action and was proactive in their life, then in those moments where you see the need to be proactive, you would be like, they did it, so I could be proactive here too. If you were to swap a friendship from, a friendship with somebody who is always talking about how tired they are and how grumpy and anxious they are, while they are also eating crappy food and drinking a lot of alcohol and staying up late on their phones, kind of like getting in their own way, but then complaining about it, you're probably going to start picking up on those habits if you don't already have them. That you see them in people that you love, so you say, hey, I love them. Those are good people, so it's okay if I do that as well. That's the way the brain works, and that's the way energy exchange works. You just start to see the way that other people live in their energy, and you start to normalize that for yourself. Whereas if you had a friend that was going through a challenging time and they're like, yeah, man, I'm really tired lately. I'm just really focusing. I'm going to get to bed on time tonight. I'm going to, make sure that I get a lot of steps in today and I just do some breath work. I'm just, again, speaking on a broad spectrum here. If you hung out with people that set an example like that, where they were talking about their challenges in a solution-based dialogue, then your brain will start to work in that solution-based program as well. You're not going to start seeing challenges as things that stop you, but rather, okay, here's these challenges. What's the workaround? And for me, exchanging these relationships from kind of, people who were addicted to victim mindset like I was, people that were stuck in this complaining, venting, need to gossip type of lifestyle, to then empowered, taking control, being proactive, being aware, taking ownership kind of mentality. In exchanging that, I saw that the power wasn't just in learning from them consciously, like the conscious knowledge that they had. I think a lot of people think having good, strong friendships is because you're going to learn pieces of knowledge from them. They're going to teach you about nutrition, or they're going to teach you about exercise. And it's not so much about the intellectual things that they're going to pass on to you at all. They might teach you tidbits, things that you'll be like, yeah, I could be in cash cab now. They might teach you things because they're intelligent people, obviously getting successful results. But what's going to happen is that hanging out with them, you're going to absorb the intellectual knowledge, but in a subconscious way, you are going to pick up on the way that they think. the way that they carry themselves, the energy that they have, the way that they talk. When you ask them how they are, if you're 5 best friends, every time you ask them how they are and they're like, gosh, man, I'm just so thankful. I got air in my chest. Some things are going a little crazy, but I know I'm going to push through. If that's how they respond, then that's going to become your automatic way of thinking. But think about your current circle. When you ask them how they are, is it, oh, gosh, I'm so freaking tired. You wouldn't believe all of the shit I'm dealing with right now. That's going to be programming you to talk like that as well and think like that. So again, it's not just about the intellectual exchange between brain to brain, but it's about the ways of thinking from subconscious to subconscious. You're going to want to embody the characteristics that these people embody. You're going to want to feel the way that they feel. And this is what magnetism really is all about. But I think for so many people that struggled in especially a victim mindset, complaining and gossip mentality, we look at these other people who embody the qualities we wish we could embody, and we see intimidation instead of inspiration. And we kind of let them rub us the wrong way. Tell me if this hits home for you. If you are walking around kind of in your life being like, man, I wish I could just be more positive. I love the idea of waking up and being grateful for my life, but gosh, my life just feels so hard. So like, that's what you want, right? And then you walk into work and the positive person that is in your office is like totally repulsive to you. Like you want to repel away from them, because their positive energy intimidates you. So you can say, oh, I wish, I hope, I want to be more positive. But then when the positive influence is standing right in front of you, do you choose to let them inspire you, or do you choose to let them intimidate and annoy you and be repelled by them versus being magnetized to them? So in this, I think there's that swap of inspiration with intimidation. And intimidation, for me, it was like my whole life with my 5 friends that we would all just sit around and bitch and complain. I would look at the very proactive, productive, healthy people that, turn down the bar because, they were excited to take their exam this Friday and their class that they're in, and they want to go study all these things. That really annoyed me. But at the same time, internally, I idolized that. I wanted that for myself, but I thought it was freaking weird. So there's that kind of that gap in the mindset. If you think something's weird, it's going to be very hard to embody it. Well, you have to allow yourself to be around those people that you might think are weird or intimidating long enough for you to see them as just another human being, that they're not that different than you other than the way that they think and what they believe. And then something very interesting happens. If you can do this once, then I think it's very easy to permanently swap intimidation for inspiration. You do this one time, you will start to see this person that I look up to, that's inspiring, that at one point I was completely intimidated by. I see that they're actually just a human being. And I'm as capable as they are. And if they can do it, then so can I. And again, it's not going to be just about what kind of intellectually they're doing. Like, oh, they're going home and studying for that test for the exam. That must mean maybe I need to get back in school and study for a test for exam. It's not so much of like that literal translation, but what it translates over into is like, oh, well, that friend, they said that it was okay for them and it was normal for them to turn down a social exchange, a social encounter, social obligation, how I see it in my mind. It's okay for them. They are confident in saying no to that, to say yes to a goal or a dream. And I think that is what I've picked up on the most from having inspiring, positive people in my starting lineup of friends, is that the way that they live their life starts to rub off on me, not just what they know. Because honestly, my closest friends now, we don't have a lot in common as far as what we like to study or, talk about. A lot of my friends are, very highly trained jujitsu athletes. I don't know much about jujitsu, but you know what we love to talk about? Our next goals, our next accomplishments, our training schedule, our nutrition. Some of these do have synchronicities, but it's not us literally sitting around and needing to have everything in common with what we're doing in our life. It's just a common pattern of wanting to develop ourselves, a common pattern of stepping into the uncomfortable areas of life that are going to grow us, stepping out of our comfort zone. So it's when you start to surround yourself with these people, it's also, I think, a really different perspective because we're so used to just being friends with people that we have everything in common with, as far as maybe we have the same type of job. Maybe we have the same hometown. Maybe we have the same aged kids. It's like we go off of these external things that we have to have in common in order to relate to one another. And I think when that starts to happen, then you can end up with friendships that aren't aligned in your mindset. And so you're just kind of feeling obligated to this friend because you have these maybe intellectual or life factors that are common threads, but you don't actually have common beliefs or common goals or common mentalities. So that's when, you start to spend your time with that person just talking about a whole lot of nothing. This is where a quote that I've said over and over again on the podcast comes into mind is, in the absence of clearly defined goals, you become strangely loyal to daily trivia until ultimately you become enslaved by it. And it's not that, you and your friend have to have the same goals, but if neither of you have any goals whatsoever, then you are going to sit around talking about daily trivia, probably reminiscing about the past, talking about what you wish you could have changed, living in the past, talking about what's going on right now in a way of like, I just want to vent. I just want to be a damsel in distress, going back to victim mindset. So, in this, it's all about being in the same, like going in the same direction, and also saying, I don't have to be 100% perfect to align with somebody who is very goal-oriented. And what I mean by that is kind of the next subject is the mastermind principle. And I think nowadays there's a lot of like online communities that use the word mastermind, and there's all of these different kind of marketing ways that people use mastermind now. But mastermind is a beautiful, almost spiritual principle. And I'm going to be talking a little bit from Napoleon Hill and also Wallace D. Wattles, who were authors and thought leaders at the beginning of 1900s, 20th century. The mastermind principle is something that helped me really understand how to optimize my starting lineup of best friends. And the mastermind principle basically states that when two human beings sit together and they share a common perspective, commonalities in their viewpoints, their mental states, when they share views and they work in harmony together, their energy comes together in a non-physical way. You cannot see this, but if you were to put a special type of camera over these two people having this energy exchange, their energy comes together to form the mastermind, the third mind. The third mind can come up with ideas that this person and that person could not have come up with on their own. You can probably see this happening when maybe you're struggling with a problem or a challenge, and then you go to somebody, and then you two together, putting your brain together, you come up with a solution that you never even considered on your own. It's because you have certain strengths and perspectives and viewpoints and memories and experiences, and so does this person and their memories and perspectives. But together, you guys come together and you patch each other's holes and voids. And this is the beautiful thing about the mastermind principle. It was me understanding that I don't actually have to be 100% confident in order to gain a confident friend. In fact, seeing that I have a hole, I have a missing piece of confidence, means that I should be friends with the person that is confident, because their strength is going to help me grow in my weak area. So a mastermind is literally saying, okay, X-nay 86, the intimidation. If I want to grow in this area of my character, in this area of my life, let me observe my really close surroundings, my workspace, my gym, maybe it's my church, any kind of group that you're involved in. Let me observe my immediate surroundings and pick out people, and trust your intuition on this, because there's probably people coming to mind already. You're like, man, I wish I could be more organized. Oh, I have this friend. I know Wendy from church or something like that. You're going to start having these ideas. When you start to recognize that your friend group actually shouldn't be filled with people at your level. It should be filled with people that do cause you to grow, that do help rub off on you to become stronger, more confident, more organized, more productive, more healthy, whatever those things look like. Then that's when you start to have a very beautiful, harmonious friend group that is propelling you forward, and that you guys don't come together to waste time complaining. You come together, just because these successful, confident, healthy people are successful, confident, healthy doesn't mean that they don't have challenges, but being surrounded with those types of people that talk about solution-oriented types of dialogue, that's what's going to actually get you places. So understand that you can create your own mastermind by asking yourself, what qualities do I want to embody? And then who embodies those qualities in my immediate surrounding? How can I get to know them so that they rub off on me? And it's not going to be necessarily that you have to sit them down and be like, hey, tell me how you're so confident. Give me tips and tricks. Again, that intellectual knowledge, it's just going to sit in your conscious mind until you hang out with them long enough to see them in action, to see them, because then in your own quiet moments, you're going to have a moment where you're insecure, and it's going to, the story that you remember about Wendy from church being really confident in that moment of fear when her doctor told her something bad, again, always just talking about random examples that I make up for my imagination here. But if you can recall in your moment of struggle, a time where your closest friend group carried through, then that's what's going to change the behavior in the moment. They can give you all the tips and tricks, but until you see them doing it enough, that's what reprograms your habit structure and your decision making. And then think about the other direction of that. Like if you see your friend saying, screw the gym, I didn't sleep well last night, then there's going to be a day probably within your next 48, 72 hours that you're like, oh, I'm tired. I'm just going to skip the gym. Cindy skipped the gym the other day. I like Cindy. Cindy's a good person. She's still okay. And so I'm going to skip the gym too. So these habits rub off in more than just an intellectual way, but more of like they're leading the way for you, and you're going to model what your friends do, because we don't ever want to be that one in our friend group that ruffles the feathers or creates a different ripple in the water, right? So we want to be in harmony with them, right? And that's whether you consciously choose positive people or you inadvertently wind up with 5 friends who are all doing the same thing year after year, decade after decade. I guarantee you're going to be going in the same direction as those 5 people. So it would behoove you to start getting really aware. Maybe the first step for you is to actually just take time off from all of the friends for right now. Don't be afraid to say no to invites for 1 weekend, 2 weekends. I recommend almost a month just to spend alone, to really kind of organize your mind and calculate what are the friendship qualities. If I want to hang on to this, what are the friendship qualities that I want? What are the things that I need to improve on in order to step into these relationships more confidently? And then in that 30 days, start to think about who could help you become this powerful mastermind. And that's the exercise for this week is, going off of the idea of looking at your immediate surroundings, what characteristics do you want to embody and who embodies those already? Start getting involved in your community. Start getting involved in your circle at work. Start getting involved in, going to the library and looking at the bulletin board at all of the flyers for the free events in your community. There's so many at my local library, things like cinema club, even tarot card reading club, hot yoga, chair yoga. There's all of these different cool groups that I would have never, ever thought existed just by going to my library, which is also a fun activity too. But the exercise is to join one community event. And yes, community events for, I would say our people, contemplating sobriety. Sometimes that community event automatically springs the thought of AA, going to an AA meeting or going to, looking on Meetup and seeing 12-step meetings on there. But community event, I want you to think about, where are healthy, successful people hanging out? Yes, there are healthy, successful, sober people going to AA, but for the most part, those people are still in the same place you are. And if you want to grow, you need to put yourself around people that are like the type of person you want to become. So think about future me, ideal me, embodying all of the characteristics that I want to live by. Where would they hang out? Maybe it's a Toastmasters club, which is a club for public speaking. Maybe it's volunteering at a pet shelter where you're going to meet other big-hearted, pet-loving people. Maybe it's volunteering at a domestic violence home where you're going to meet other leaders that are wanting to make an impact on people's lives that are in a tough spot. Maybe it's going to a Meetup, which I'm just going to put this out there in case nobody knows. Meetup is an app, MEETUP. Meetup is an app that basically every city, you can look up what community events are going on. So there's going to be running groups, there's going to be art groups, there's real estate investing groups, there's sewing groups. So really anything, like think about what types of characteristics, what types of hobbies and interests your ideal self would be doing in the absence of alcohol, and join one thing in the next 7 days. Even if it's an online community meeting over Zoom, join. And then come back. If you're watching this from YouTube, comment in the description or comment below what event you signed up for. And if you are feeling a little apprehensive about joining something more wide community-based, then the next part of the exercise, and if you want to get extra credit, do both, is to find that one person in your immediate surrounding. Maybe it's the woman from your book club, or maybe it's the really positive person in the office that right now in your current state of mind, you're like, ugh, I don't like her, she's annoying. Just go hang out with that person with an open mind. Invite them out for a coffee. Ask them if they want to go do hot yoga. Ask them if they want to go for a walk, or maybe, if you guys both have dogs, have a doggy play date. Get creative with an idea so that this person and you can spend time together. And again, it doesn't have to look like you picking their brain and being like, okay, how do you live your life? Tell me your whole vision and your whole life mission statement. It's not like that. It's like, let me just see you and the way you behave and have your energy rub off on me so that I start to think and act like you do as well. If we are always going to base things, which is a really big paradigm, if we're always going to base things on what we see and what we hear, you better be damn sure who you're hanging out with and what they're doing, what you're seeing them do, is what you want to be doing too. Because so often we surround ourselves with people where we're like, yeah, their life sucks. I would hate to live like them, but they're my friend. I'm so glad my life isn't like that. And then let me tell you, if you actually zoomed out and looked at your life is actually very similar to theirs. You're just looking at different circumstances and not taking ownership for certain things, and you're putting onus on them for certain things. And so it's very likely that your life actually does look a lot like those friends that you're like, their life is hard. I'm so glad I'm so much smarter, more positive than them. You feel like you are, but you're actually not. So make sure that you are taking me up on this weekly exercise, because I promise just being around somebody who is so different than you, who inspires you, is going to inspire you in your quiet moments to do different. Quite literally, the mantra for this show, for my whole life, they're going to inspire you to think differently about everything. And in thinking differently, you will find that you don't want to drink the same way. You don't want to self-sabotage. So take me up. Make sure you update me on how the community kind of environment experience goes. Who did you invite out for coffee or for a mindset walk? What happened? What did you learn? What questions do you have? Keep me posted. You know I'm always here for you. Until the next episode, go do your thing. Hang out with those positive people that are going to help you think different in order to drink different, or never again. Signing out. It means the entire world to me that you have been here with me, letting me share my experiences and hopefully helping open your eyes to a bright, beautiful life ahead of you as well. So if you are loving this show, please, please, please subscribe, like, comment, and especially share this with somebody that might be in need. Please help get the word out. Word of mouth is so important, and I know that you're somebody special who can help me in this mission for thinking differently in order to drink differently, or never again. Make sure you reach out if you have any questions you want discussed on the podcast. I'm here for it, so I'll talk to you soon. Signing out, Magnify Maggie.